Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It? The series where I share my review and my opinion on different video games that I have experience. Let me ask you this, have you ever rolled a dice or flip a coin in order to make your decision? What if I told you there is a game where the whole world depends on the roll of the dice, and that is going to decide your entire life? This game is none other than Lost in Random. Lost in Random is an action-adventure game developed by an indie studio called Zoink Games and Thunderful Group, and it was published by EA under the EA Originals label. The game was released in September 2021 and is available for every available platform through their digital stores. The world of Lost in Random has its own set of rules set by the Queen. Every inhabitant will have to roll the Queen's dice once they reach the age of 12. The roll will decide their life status. To elaborate, rolling a 1 is the worst and people will have to live in Oneville, where they will be considered losers, poor, and treated like trash. People of 2 Town suffer from split personality issues. They have their calm side, and then they live on their aggressive side. 3 Town suffers from an ever-going war between 3 siblings who hate each other due to the death of their father. Each day, the Queen will roll a dice, and one of the 3 siblings will attack the other. The Land of 4 is filled with gamblers and fortune tellers whose goal is to become filthy rich. Outside of 4 Town, there is a cursed forest that whoever goes alive never comes back. The Land of 5 is a laboratory where the Queen gets her cards and minions to do her dirty works. Last but not least, the Land of 6 is a utopia for special individuals, however, it has its own dark secrets. An important factor is prior to the Queen's rise to power, every inhabitant used to have their own dice. However, once the Queen became the Queen, all the dice disappeared, never to be seen, but the Queen's. The story focuses on 2 sisters, Odd and her younger sister Even, who live in Oneville. Odd and some other kids in the neighborhood turned 12 and the harvest occurred. Odd rolled a 6 and the Queen took her away from her family, never to be seen again. Even refused to accept the loss of her sister, but her parents keep her close as she was the only thing they have left. Since the events of the harvest, Even has been having weird dreams of her sister being scared and sad. A year later, one night, that one dream felt so real that Even decides to venture around in order to save his sister. She accompanied by one ghost which she kept seeing on her dreams. On her journey, she is joined by Dicey, a dice she met in the Lost Valley of Dice. With her new friend and her new abilities, Even sets on a journey throughout the Land of Random in order to find and save her sister to confirm whether or not she is in danger. On her adventure, Even gets a very good character development, makes new and interesting friends with their own stories, and the player gets to know the lore of the random world prior and during the rise of the Queen. The lore of the world is hidden behind the only collectible of the game, which is book pages that are scattered across the lands. The gameplay of Lost in Random is unique, it combines platforming and deck structure. The more times the players spend exploring the areas and dealing with side quests, the more money they get that they can spend on boosters that contain cards. But before proceeding into further details, it's only fair to begin from the start. The game is an action-adventure where the player gets control of Even. Early in Chapter 1, Odd gave Even her slingshot in the hopes that it will be useful for Even. The slingshot is mainly used in order to solve puzzles and to aid Even during combat. Combat becomes available in the town of 2, so during the first part of the game plays a simple 3D platforming with stealth elements. During her transaction from 1 to 2, she was joined by Dicey, with whom combat becomes available. During combat, the player has to use the slingshot to shoot the blue crystals located on top of enemies. Once the crystals are shot, the broken pieces will fall on the ground, and Even will have to crawl to Dicey to go pick them up. In most cases, Dicey is close to Even, so he will automatically collect them. If he is far off in the distance due to prior events, Even can call him with a single tap of a button. Last but not least, if crystals are away, the player can pinpoint the location and call Dicey to go to that place. On the bottom right, there's a face down card that fills blue each time Dicey collects crystals. Once the card is filled, Even draws a card and places it on her hand. In this case, it's on the bottom right. Even can hold up to 5 cards in total. No matter how many crystals Even collects, once they are 5, she can no longer draw more. In order to play a card, Even has to throw her Dicey. First by collecting him, and second by just throwing him. The moment Dicey leaves Even's hands, time freezes and the player gets to use their cards. The roll of the dice defines the points even gets to use. Each card has a paying fee that is placed on the top left of each card. The player is allowed to use as many cards as they wish, as long as the sum of the cards is equal to the number the dice roll. There are 5 card types. Cards that spawn weapon, some grant shields and extra health, others are cheats that can reduce the card's cost or draw new cards, and others spawn items in the maps such as bombs. The player can build a deck up to 15 cards and duplicates are allowed. Cards can be collected throughout the world of random either by visiting the store, and the other way is by completing side quests from NPCs in certain areas. In order to build a deck, the player will have to open the menu and select deck. They can then remove cards from automated decks and select the 15 cards that they prefer to use. The store also sells some pins that the player can use in order to save a hand on their hand. For example, if you draw the bow but you don't have the right summoning points, you can pin the bow card, and so when all the cards go away, the bow will still stay on Even's hand until the next roll of the dice, which then he can play it. In order for Even to proceed after the time was frozen due to the dice roll, the player will either have to shoot the enemies, hit them with their weapon, or press the button that responds to Dicey. It's important to note that the player can roll the dice as long as they are in possession of at least one card. During normal combat, the game proceeds as normal. Shoot the crystals of the enemies, collect them with Dicey, throw Dicey, and use a card. The moment all the enemies are defeated in combat, the phase ends. The same rules are applied in boss battles. Lost in Random though has a few board games to test the player. Board games are like normal battles, however, their objective is not to kill all the enemies available, but first to finish the board game and then finish off the enemies. As long as the board piece doesn't reach the end point, enemies will keep spawning forever. The pawn during a board game will move each time Even throws her dice. Certain board games place a card that spawns a monster that Even will have to defeat in order for the card to unblock the path for the pawn to move. Outside of platforming and fighting, the world of Random has a lot of dialogue for the player to explore. In fact, talking around with NPC and even Dicey allows the player to understand a lot about the world. During a conversation, the player is given a lot of dialogue options that will trigger a different response. Some of them are important as they will reward the player with a trophy and a different dialogue. These type of dialogues are unique and the player won't be able to trigger them again if lost or if chosen the wrong decision. Overall, Lost in Random is a great game with a fascinating art style and a good storytelling. Each town in the land of Random is unique with its own asset. The game is not very long, lasting up to 6 to 10 hours with exploration and everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you want more information about the game, you can always check my website, links down below. Tell me your thoughts on the game, and if you have any question I can answer, feel free to ask it. Till then, take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!